Now, Cabrakan the Destroyer of Mountains. He is a guardian from the Mayan pantheon, and he is probably one of the most interesting guardians because he's not a very good support. Believe it or not, he's actually pretty crap at support. I'll go into that. So now, basic statistics here. You can see he's a guardian. 490 health plus 90 per level. 23 physical defense plus 3.3 per level. He's going to get very tanky in the end game, just off of his base scalings. The interesting thing with Cabrakan is that all of his abilities have some kind of CC on them, or at least movement and inhibition. So his passive is called Shadow Zone. Any ally near Cabrakan within 30 units from Cabrakan in a radius will take 5% reduced damage. Very simple passive. Please note this passive does not extend to Cabrakan himself. He's not getting this. It would be really fun if he could, but he doesn't. His first ability is called Seismic Crush. It's a little bit of a self buff. Cabrakan will increase his movement speed, gain 70% increased attack speed, and the next successful basic attack on anything will stun and do extra damage. While this ability is active, Cabrakan is immune to slows and roots and does not suffer the basic attack penalty. So if you really want to, you can just swing your shields, because he attacks with his shields, just continually swing them until you smash something. Damage 100 to 275 plus 50% of his magical power. It has a 1 second stun. He gets 15 to 35% extra move speed. The buff lasts for 5 seconds. The cooldown is 18 seconds. And the cost is 50 to 70 mana. His second ability is called Refraction Shield. It has a passive and a active ability. Each time Cabrakan takes damage, his shields will store up energy and give him extra protection. Each time he gets hit, he gets 1 stack, up to 8 stacks. Or 5 stacks, sorry. I'm reading wrong numbers. Actively using this, Cabrakan will slam his shields together in front of him and deal damage to enemies in front of him. And if his shields have max stacks, then enemy gods hit are stunned, and all these stacks will be removed. So now the damage, this has pretty massive damage, 90 to 330 plus 50% of his magical power. It is a 1.1 to 1.5 second stun. The protections per stack is 4 to 8 up to 5 stacks, so you can get up to from 20 to 40 extra protections by getting hit. Its cooldown goes from 14 to 10 seconds, and its mana cost goes up from 65 to 85. Cabrakan's third ability is called Tremors. Cabrakan will repeatedly slam the ground and cause an earthquake enemies that are within this range will take damage and will be sucked into its Cabrakan every time it hits. This ability can only be channeled for a maximum amount of 10 seconds. So now, it does 25 to 65 damage plus 35% of his magical power every 0.5 seconds in an AoE. Its radius is 30, and it costs 15 to 35 mana every half a second. So every time you do damage, you consume you consume mana. So you can hit for a maximum of hold on. You can hit 20 times with this ability. So that's a lot of damage if you can actually hit all 20, but it's rare you'll ever actually hit all 20. Just because this is a really easy ability to stop, because Cabrakan is not knock-up immune, he's not knockback immune, he can be stunned out of it. It's just kind of disappointing. By the way, this sucking in is actually a CC. The enemy will be CC'd each time. And that's important because of diminishing returns, which I will get into when I go up over leveling. As for his ultimate, it's called Tectonic Shift. Cabrakan will stomp the ground and create a wall of earth and a fissure that travels out in front of him and then damages any enemies caught in his path. The walls will form up and are solid objects. They're unpassable except by one god. I'll get into. He'll be much later. Walls can only be destroyed if they take enough basic attack hits. And Cabrakan can destroy his own walls with a single basic attack. So now, the damage does 150 to 550 plus 70% of his magical power. The walls will take 2 to 6 hits each to destroy one. And mana cost 100, cooldown 75 seconds. So now I mentioned diminishing returns on tremors. Diminishing returns in Smite is to prevent you from being sunlocked into oblivion. And the way diminishing returns work, each time that you are hit by a CC, the next successive CC within a certain amount of time will be like halved or something. And so the problem with Cabrakan is that these main three abilities all apply a CC. And since Tremors is applying CC every time it hits, you hit diminishing returns really quickly, which makes Cabrakan so poor at being a support is that his CC is not reliable because he's applying too much of it. There's such thing in Smite as too much CC, and Cabrakan has hit that point. Sorry about that. So now, leveling order. I like with Cabrakan, you either get Refraction Shield or Tremors first. They're both his best forms of wave clear. And in the solo lane, which is actually Cabrakan's best role, both are very good ideas. I think Refraction Shield is stronger as a level 1 ability. It does a lot of damage. The protection increase is really good with him. I just think it's overall a good idea. The stun is valuable at level 1. I think as his second ability, you take Tremors in the solo lane. What you can do is you can use Tremors to bring all the minions close and then just slam them with your Refraction Shield and just annihilate them. I think third, you want to take another level of Refraction Shield, more damage, longer stun, more protections if you're hit. I think it's just overall his strongest ability right now. Level 4, you take Seismic Crush. The idea with Cabrakan and the way he does the most damage is to either run at someone with Seismic Crush and then stun them and then immediately Refraction Shield them, or to get the Refraction Shield stun off and then immediately Seismic Crush them, because you're going to be doing a lot of damage early. Like, even with a level 3 Refraction Shield and level 1 Seismic Crush, that's 300 damage right there, plus your basic attack damage, plus just everything. It's a lot of damage for a level 6 god. And that's not even factoring into he might ultimate you, he might Tremors you. You don't know. So now, I mentioned level 5. So now, level 5, you get Tectonic Shift. I think this is actually one of the weakest ultimates in the entire game, because it's unreliable, it moves slowly, it has a very short range, and it's really only good if you can... And it's really easy to just walk away from. It's only really good if you can trap someone in just the right spot and just ruin their day as they try to run away. Because gods with jumps can just jump over your walls. Or high attack speed gods can just break your walls. It's not a good ultimate. I don't like it. I think there are better ultimates, much better ultimates. I think Tectonic Shift has its uses, but I don't think it's very good. As for level 6 and level 7, Refraction Shield, get that massive damage up, get the stun, get protections. It's just such a good ability. So now, level 8, you can deviate in one of two ways. If you're farming a lot, Tremors. If you are being aggressive and trying to kill, Seismic Crush. Both are good abilities, but it all depends on your situation. Personally, I like getting my Seismic Crush because I like going aggressive with Cabrakan. I think he's very good with being aggressive because of the Refraction Shield and his naturally high scalings. So I think you can get away with it. So what you do... So I get Seismic Crush at level 8. Level 9, finish Refraction Shield. Level 10, 11, 12, finish Seismic Crush. Now, I usually don't end up having Tremors, but I also don't usually play Cabrakan solo. This is just what I understand of what you do with him solo. Normally what I do is I avoid getting Tremors at all. I think it just doesn't offer enough if you're not going to level it up early, or at least second. So I don't usually take it, and I just level Refraction Shield and Seismic Crush a bunch for the massive damage they offer. So then, what I do from there is I just go on rampage through the enemy lines, hit them with a bunch of stuns, and now at level 13, as I mentioned, Tectonic Shift is a weak ult. So at this point, I would say start leveling up Tremors, finish Tremors before you even put another point into Tectonic Shift. I think Cabrakan's main three abilities are better abilities than Tectonic Shift. I think Tectonic Shift is one of the weakest overall abilities in the entire game, one of the weakest ultimates certainly. So I don't particularly enjoy it. Anyway, that's how I think you should level. My suggestion to leveling Cabrakan. I think he's best used basically a berserker, running at the enemy and hitting them with a lot of damage in a short amount of time. As for build, this is a support build. I don't think he's a great support. What I would do is I would say Mark of the Vanguard is a good item with him just because he doesn't really do well with the Vampiric Shroud, but he does really well with the Mark of the Vanguard because of the protections it offers him and the flat damage reduction it gives him. I think he's really good with that. I think he needs Hand of the Gods. He doesn't have great early game clear, and I think and especially if you are facing 2 physical gods early game, you are going to get out-cleared so badly, you need the Hand of the Gods to fall back on in the solo lane. From there, I think you go into Shoes of the Magi. Shoes of Focus is a good idea, but I think Shoes of the Magi is much stronger with Cabrakan just due to his scalings and the amount of damage he does and the amount of mana he has to consume. I think it's just an overall stronger item for him. From there, I really think the Jade Mountain Helm, which will give you magical power and physical defense as well as magical penetration. I think that's a really good item with Cabrakan. It spikes his damage really high early and just makes him really powerful. After the Jade Mountain Helm, I really think I like Ethereal Staff actually early. I think Cabrakan does really well with a lot of health. And after Ethereal Staff here gives you 600 health, if I can get it. Yes, 600 health, 300 mana, 30 magical power, and a percentage of your health is converted to magical power. It's a very small percent, but you're getting some of your magical power. Some of your health becomes magical power. It's not like you lose health with it. It's that it's equivalence. So now, after the Ethereal Staff, I think with Cabrakan, you want to go into Magi's Blessing. He's really weak to enemy CC, and I think Magi's Blessing just really helps him. It also meshes well with Ethereal Staff. Between Magi's Blessing and Ethereal Staff, you have almost 1,000 health between the 2 items. After that, I think Void Stone is really good with him, doing more damage, helping out any other magical gods on your team with damage, getting yourself some magic protection. I don't think Cabrakan needs as much protection as most of the other Guardians because of his natural passive, because of his passive with his 2. So I think you can get away with a little bit more damage, especially if you're a solo laner, but you're going to be very tanky. So now at this point you have your Shoes of the Magi, you have Jade Mountain Helm, you have Ethereal Staff, you have Magi's Blessing, and you have a Void Stone. Where do you go from there? I like Rotted Tahuti. I think just spiking your damage, making you do a lot of damage with Cabrakan. You turn him into Cabrakan. He's just going to smash you in the face, deal a lot of damage to you, and just ruin you. I think he's one of the better gods in the game. He is one of the he's one of the best counters to Bacchus because of the amount of CC he's going to do. Bacchus can never use his Belch to the Gods if the Cabrakan is nearby, or else the Cabrakan will just use one of his stuns and stun Bacchus out of it. Hold on. So now skins, you have Standard Cabrakan, his Recolor Rampage, Golden Diamond Legendary, and then Nerd Rage Cabrakan, which gives him typical nerd stuff. And that's just now actives with Cabrakan. Get Hog 3 is just a really good idea. Blink is really good with him. Weakening Curse is good with him. Shield the Underworld good with him. Beads does not so much, but there's a lot of good actives with him. So that's Cabrakan.